Welcome to another episode of the Life of Elvis podcast. I'm your host Elvis, and today with me is Colette Morris, who is a health coach and personal trainer. So we're happy to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Elvis. I'm excited to be here, excited to be on the podcast. I'm doing well today. I am in the States in Michigan, so the weather just got warmer, and I'm all about that. So doing well today. Thank you for asking. I guess I'll take this time here to give a little bit more of an intro to myself.
Go for it.
Yeah, I am a health coach. I'm 21 years old. I'm currently finishing up my master's of business administration, which I kind of just got as like a backup plan for me because I've known for the past few years that I wanted to do what I'm doing, which is helping others, basically reach their goals without hating the process and focusing on mindset, nutrition, and fitness as a whole, and helping people reach their goals that way, opposed to I like to say that in my program what I do is I give people the tools and I help them build the house, opposed to just giving people the tools and saying, here you go, have fun with it, hope you do well. Yeah, that's basically all about me and my business. I've been doing that for 3 years now. Hobbies outside of fitness and what I do in that realm is I am a musician, so I sing and I play guitar, but we probably
nice.
won't be talking about much of that today, but just as a little fun fact, I wanted to throw that in there because no, I don't just go to the gym and work out. But yeah, that's
What kind of music do you play?
Huh?
What kind of music do you play?
I play a little bit of everything, but I'm actually in the Michigan Country Music Hall of Fame, so a lot of it is country music for the shows that I'm doing, so.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, so what got you into fitness in the first place?
So what got me into fitness in the first place was I was actually bullied through junior high and high school, and I don't really know why people bullied me. Girls are just mean. Anybody watching this can relate to that. People in middle school and high school are just mean. But I wanted to, one of the times that I was bullied, unfortunately, it was a physical altercation. And I got the crap beat out of me. So I was like, I want to be strong and I don't want to have to run into this anymore. And I kind of just found my passion in the gym once I started going. I was always a very athletic person in high school and junior high. I did sports, all of this stuff, but I really fell in love with going on my own and training on my own. And yeah, that's really how I got into it, was just wanting to be strong, wanting to be the best version of myself that I could be. And it's been like 8 years now, so I've just never gotten tired of it. I've always found new ways to challenge myself and switch up my training style, and it's really just a lifestyle now, which I'm sure you obviously can relate to because you do this too. So yeah, that's how I originally got into the whole health and fitness realm.
Yeah, I do relate to that because I also got, for similar reasons, it was first martial arts, later on calisthenics. I was also, a weak kid, a bit bullied, so I didn't want to be that kind of person. So that's why I took out. My dad used to have like these two old, like really old from the 80s, communist books about karate. So I started reading that, started taking some lessons and stuff like that. So what kind of advice would you have to people that are being bullied, just very quickly, because a lot of people go through that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so much easier said than done to give advice about this. And I remember when I was going through all of this stuff, like people would just say to me like, oh, just ignore them, or just know that, what they're saying isn't true, or be true to yourself and all of that stuff. And that's all great to say, like, it's all great advice, but it's kind of like when something really bad happens in your life and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, it'll be better soon. And like, you don't want people to say that. Like, you just want people to understand what you are going through. And I think that's the biggest thing with anything that you're struggling with, like mentally or mindset wise, because when you break down bullying, yeah, people are being mean to you, but internally it is really a mindset thing. Like, you're maybe being told all of these things so much that you're starting to believe them or whatever. So really the best advice that I have for anyone going through something like that is, again, easier said than done. just be there for yourself and constantly show up for yourself and know that you are the person you are. You're not ever going to please everyone. That's never going to happen. You're always going to have people that will say something bad about you or, say just make you feel bad for whatever reason. But you really have to just accept that. Like, you just have to accept that you're not everyone's cup of tea. And as long as you are a good person and you're doing everything you can to contribute, positivity, love, care, kindness in society, then you cannot attest for those other people, and they'll figure it out one day. Karma is a real thing. I really do believe that you get the energy that you put out into the world back to you. And sometimes, obviously, unfortunate things happen, but for the most part, you just gotta stay true to you and find your tribe of people that really bring you up and lift you up, because once you do, nothing that anybody says will matter anymore. Someone could look at me and scream in my face over and over again about whether I don't know, they could say anything, any kind of insult, and it's not going to bother me unless I have some sort of underlying belief that could be true. Then it's a different story. So, and then that's where you got to do the self work and work on those things yourself too.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now, of course, go to a gym, put some Bruce Lee movies or something. That'll help.
Yep.
All right. So what kind of training do you do?
Yeah, so I do pretty much any training my clients want. It's mainly centered around weightlifting and cardio, a balance between the two of those. But yeah, I make all my workouts for my clients so they can, see it on their app and do all of that stuff. But it's all based on what the client's needs are. So sometimes I'll have clients that will be training for a race and they'll let me know that so I can incorporate some form of endurance training for their race into their plan. Sometimes I have people competing for shows, so that's obviously a very different style of training. Someone looking to gain muscle versus someone looking to lose weight entirely is going to be a different training style. So it really is focused on what the individual goals are, but I don't do anything out of that realm really. So I don't really do a lot of CrossFit workouts. I don't do a lot of calisthenics stuff you talk about. I don't do a lot of extra things like that. It's just, weightlifting. What are your goals? How are we going to create a training program that adapts with your schedule and your lifestyle and your goals so that you can be successful, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So that's what you also personally do in your own workouts, mainly weightlifting, some cardio.
Yeah, yep, that's what I do in my workouts. Yep, I've switched it up a lot, and depending on what I am wanting to do more of, I would say I kind of got into CrossFit a little bit there, but I kind of group in my CrossFit with some form of HIIT or something like that. So it's not really definition CrossFit, but yeah, that's pretty much what I do too.
Yeah, good. As long as you don't do CrossFit pull-ups, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just asking because you're really in good shape. I'm not kissing your ass or anything, but you look really good. Put on a lot of muscle, and honestly, we need a lot more people who are being doing stuff like this and being a role model to other people and younger people, especially.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's something that I've talked about a lot in my area here. Nothing's ever happened about it, especially when I used to work at the gym that I worked at. We talked about, getting more women in general involved in heavy weightlifting and kids, because outside of, I don't know what your school setup or anything is like over there, but here, if you're not in a sport, there's not much for kids to do under the age of 15 when they're not in an actual sport and going to practices. A lot of the gyms here won't even let you in a gym by yourself unless you're, it's different for every gym, but 14 to 16 years old, you're, anything younger than that, you're not going to be allowed in a gym at all unless you have a parent with you. So there's not enough programs out there for younger kids and for younger women, especially, because I feel for younger men, it's a gym bro thing. Like everyone probably goes through a gym phase, and whether they stick with it or not, like it's kind of like a gym bro thing. I don't know. I see a lot of high school guys at my gym, but I don't see any high school girls at all. You know, it's just different. So I
Yeah,
think that
that's
I
true.
think that women growing up have this thought in their head that, like if they lift weights, they're just gonna look very manly or like be too strong or whatever. But like the work doesn't do that by accident. Like you're not just going to go into the gym a couple times and then be this massive person with all this muscle mass. Like if you're not working towards it, it's not going to happen. So that belief just like blows my mind, because I'm like, do you think that I look like this on accident? Like, no, it doesn't happen like that. So yeah,
And
I
just to
think
be clear, you don't look like a man.
no, thank you. Yeah, no, but that's the thing. Like, you want to talk about bullying and stuff. I don't let that bother me anymore. But in high school and stuff, when I was more
Hmm.
muscular and was younger and not really as secure with myself as a woman, if people would comment things like that or say I was too muscular or things like that, I really let that get to me. Like, I remember specifically there was a time where I didn't train upper body for months because I was like,
Hmm.
I don't want my upper body to get any bigger. I was like, people think I'm manly. Like, boys don't want to talk to me because I'm larger than them or I have broad shoulders or,
And
like that.
probably stronger as well.
Exactly. But like that, I don't know. Like when you're in high school, you're so focused on like fitting in or just like being
Yeah.
accepted. And I don't know. I cannot believe I like even saying it now. Like I can't believe I didn't train upper body for months because of what somebody said about me. Like it's the most selfish thing I could have done for myself, like just because of what somebody said or because I didn't want to feel out of place. But I create my own place and everybody creates their own place, and that's what, we have to remember too.
Hmm. Right. So when it comes to women and weightlifting, we both know that if you were to choose, even for weight loss, if you were to choose between some kind of resistance training like weightlifting, calisthenics, what have you, and between cardio, it is more beneficial to go for the resistance training. And a lot of people are very surprised. So what kind of advice do you have for women when they want to get started? Because sometimes you see even women coming to a gym and many times they pick up weights that are like literally half or just a lot lighter than the things they pick up during the day, right?
Yeah. I would say, like, here's the thing, and here's what people don't understand is that people just don't understand the science behind it, and that's, there's
Hmm.
lack of knowledge out there and lack of correct information out there too. But I would say my advice to a woman wanting to get into weightlifting is there's so many things I could think of, but like number one, don't don't be afraid to lift heavy weights even when you're upper body day, because here's the thing about like here's where science comes into play. So like everybody wants like the hourglass figure, right? Everybody wants big thighs, big glutes, like slim waist, like to get that hourglass figure, you have to build up your upper body. Otherwise, you're going to be looking like this, but people want to look like this. But if you're not
Hmm.
building up any of your upper body, like you're not building up your muscles at all, like that's what makes the waist look slim. Like building up that muscle, like bulking up and then cutting down the fat after you've built up that muscle. Our muscles are what shape our bodies. They literally shape what our bodies look like. I could change my entire body composition if I wanted to. If I wanted to have like chicken legs and an insane upper body, like I could do it. Give me a year of switching up my training and it will look like that. But it's like people don't understand that to look the way that everyone like wants to look, it's not entirely about genetics. Like it's totally not. Yeah, we all hold our fat in different places, absolutely. But if you want to build up the body that you want and actually gain strength and, you know, be consistent with your training where you're not constantly having to focus on certain things, you need to create that consistent weightlifting schedule. You need to track your stuff, track your workouts, track your stuff. Make sure you're challenging yourself and not just doing the same thing every time you go into the gym, and not be afraid to lift heavy weights, because you're just getting stronger. Like if you look in the mirror one day and you're like, okay, I think I'm getting too big, or I think my arms are a little too muscular for my liking, then tone it down. Then tone it down from there and take some of those exercises out, or start doing, start doing higher rep things with lower weight, but still work those muscles. And I think people, like I said, just don't understand that, like, to look the way that you want or to perform the way that you want, there's like background work that has to be done that doesn't always apply immediately. Like just because you're doing a lot of upper body work doesn't mean, you're going to look all manly and, have any issues with those types of things. So.
And what kind of advice do you have in terms of nutrition? Because that's a really big thing where people mess things up.
Yeah, so nutrition, whenever people try to increase their nutrition, that's not the word I'm looking for, but improve their nutrition is the word I'm looking for. They'll always just be like, oh, well, I've been eating healthier things. And it's like, okay, what does that mean, right? Like, what does eating healthier things mean? Because most of the time when I talk to people, that's what they'll say, like, oh, I've been more conscious about what I'm eating and I've been eating healthier things. For most people, what this means is they're starting to eat salads, or they're eating less bread, or they're drinking less pop, and they're drinking more water. That's what these types of things usually mean when people say that. And I just wish I could bop everybody on the head and be like, okay guys, you have to understand that the food you are eating, what it actually is, has nothing to do with you losing weight. It is the contents of the food, your macros, your protein, your fats, and your carbs. Because 9 times out of 10, people are eating under 100 grams of protein a day, which that's insane to be eating that low of protein a day. And they're eating way too many carbs or way too much fat, but they have, they're like, oh, I need to eat less carbs. And that's just what people think. So they start cutting out all these carbs, and then they're still not eating enough protein. They're under eating with their carbs and probably still going over in their fats. That's, the most common thing that I see when starting to work with people. So my advice is to increase your protein intake. And if you've never tracked anything you've ate, that's your red flag to begin with. You need to know what you're eating, or at least on a day-to-day basis, what your ballpark is, how many calories about that you are eating. And then from there, I would just start looking at those numbers and being like, okay, what should a normal person be eating? And those calculators aren't always right, but most of the time people try to make these goals for themselves without even doing any research on that at all, and being like, what should I even be eating? Am I under eating? What am I even eating right now? Because people will try to fix their nutrition and be healthier without ever plugging anything into a food calculator. And it's you can't never do that. You don't need to do it all the time, but you can't never do that and have any idea the amount of food you're eating, or if you're eating the right portions of everything. So increase your protein intake. Focus on do research on what carbs are and what fats are first, so and know that not every carb is a bad carb, and the carbs that you are eating should be providing you energy. You shouldn't be cutting out all of these carbs, and you shouldn't be just eating salads all the time, because they're greens, but other than the greens, they don't really provide you with any other macronutrient that you need at all. It's all micronutrients. And a lot of people will be like, I'm just gonna have smoothies and salads, and that's great, but you're still missing some key things that you need on a day-to-day basis. So I guess, long story short, do some research. Don't just start cutting things out and having no idea what you're cutting out, but do some research and increase your protein intake for sure, because I almost feel like it's not an assumption. It's almost a fact to say that most of the population does not eat enough protein, and they won't if they never pay attention to it either. Um, Pretty much every time when people come to me, when I'm creating their workouts and whatnot, they'll give me their nutrition that they're currently eating, and they're always eating like under 100 grams of protein a day, which is not enough to sustain any muscle mass at all. So if you think that could be you and you're not seeing any muscle gain, there's a big factor of why, because you're not giving your muscles enough to even hold on to.
Yeah, when it comes to carbs, that's one of the really unfortunate misconceptions we have that got perpetuated by, certain people, including people in the fitness industry. Like some people say, like, "Oh my God, food has so much sugar in it." Am I going like? Have you ever seen someone get fat from food? It just doesn't happen, right? And it's a big difference if you have some highly processed carbs, like white flour, white rice, as opposed to something that has lots of nutrition, has lots of fiber, lots of water. It's a massive difference. You can't compare these two things at all.
Exactly. Like, and I talk about this with my clients too. Like, it's about the content of your food. Like, if you're eating something that has 30 grams of carbs and 15 grams of fat and 15 grams of protein versus eating something that has 30 grams of carbs and 20 grams of protein and 5 grams of fat, like the ratios on those are much better with your numbers that you're trying to hit, because fats, there's not, like fats, I feel like people don't struggle with too much with just like being under as long as you're eating like whole foods, because a lot of foods really don't have fat in it. It's carbs that people will struggle with the most. But it's like there's good carbs and there's bad carbs, and you can choose to eat, a bowl of cereal before you go to the gym, or you could choose to eat like a bowl of oatmeal, like protein oatmeal or something, and those are two very different types of carbs with very different sugars, different fiber, all those things that, you mentioned, and they will provide our body with different energy, even though they might be the same amount of carbs, So, that is a really, really big misconception for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like I always say, like, it doesn't matter in which group you happen to be, whether you're into keto, vegan diets, or whatever. One thing that we all have in common is just stick to whole foods. Cut out all the processed stuff, stick to whole foods. It makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Even like earlier when we mentioned body composition and the places you tend to store fat, it all relates together. Because like, let's say you're a dude, you have man boobs or like a really big gut. It's a hormonal imbalance usually. Mm-hmm. And that comes down to what you eat, whether you're drinking or not, and all that stuff. And eating healthy whole foods, cutting out the crap, that's going to make a massive difference.
No, absolutely.
Right. So you mentioned training, nutrition. Let's get a little bit into, before we finish, into mindset, because that's a really big thing as well. Without that, you're not going to do the weightlifting, nor are you going to stick to the nutrition.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like, and why I focus on mindset in my program is because, and again, this looks different for everybody, but say a pretty general client that will come to me is somebody who is, not insanely overweight. Like I work with a lot of very overweight clients too, like helping them with larger weight changes. But the normal client that comes to me is not extremely overweight, but definitely like has body fat to lose. They're a super busy person. And when they start to apply all of these things, right, like we're talking, there's so much more to health and fitness than just eating better and going to the gym. When we get into, these things like the time it takes to meal prep sometimes, or how you feel mentally, like if you don't get all your food in one day, or if you miss your workout when you were expecting that, or comparing yourselves to other people or other people's journeys, all of those things. If you're not addressing your emotions behind like why you feel the way you do about all of these things, then you're probably going to get frustrated and quit, or you're going to be stressed, you're going to be overwhelmed. There's going to be way too many things to focus on at one time, and you're not going to have like that positive reminder that you might need for whatever it is. So something we talk about a lot in my program is confidence, and just kind of, what we've talked about a lot on this call already too, like believing in yourself and being true to yourself and knowing that you can do anything you put your mind to, all of that stuff. But the approach that I chose to work on with mindset, because at first when I first started my mindset training with people, it was like an online course that people could go on to, and then they could learn themselves, kind of like, any online course there. I didn't find that worked very well, because people are already so busy and they have so many things to worry about that the last thing they want to do is not only worry about all this stuff with training and nutrition, but log on and like do extra work around mindset when I'm already so stressed out and have so much stuff on my plate and don't have time for it. So what I started to do is weekly or monthly themes with my clients. So every month we focus on something different, and that is what we talk about the whole month on our mindset calls. So this month we're talking about emotional mastery in general. So mastering your emotions and knowing the way that you feel, how to like change those emotions and triggers about the way that you feel. Last month we talked about upgrading your environment. So how the environment around you has a big play in how you feel about yourself, and the things that you do, the way you spend your time, all of those things. We've talked about upgrading your self-image, self-confidence, so many things. So we have different themes every month where I really focus on these things with my clients, and then I also, get feedback too. I'm like, is there anything that you guys want to talk about specifically that we haven't talked about, or anything that you are personally struggling with when it comes to, your mindset? And then, aside from that, I'm always there individually to help people with, things that they're struggling with. So I think mindset is a really big thing you should focus on. Something I stress with all of my clients is journaling and meditation. Literally the best things you can do. So good for your mental health. You cannot go wrong. So those are two things that I mention a lot and talk about a lot as far as mindset and things we can do on our own time. But yeah, so that would be, I don't know what else to say about the mindset stuff.
No, that was really good. I mean, like you said, meditation, journaling, it's great stuff. Everyone should do at least one of those things.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's slowly wrap up. So I'll ask you a few questions which you can quickly answer, which I ask every guest. So first one, what is one piece of advice you like to give to people?
Some overall advice.
Yeah, best piece of advice you can think of.
My favorite quote ever, and I hate to be the one to pull out a quote or whatever, but my favorite quote ever is, "A comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there." And I think it is so true. So my best piece of advice to every single person is never stay comfortable. Never stay comfortable, because that's not your area for growth. The growth is uncomfortable. It sucks. Not every part of it is enjoyable, but we have to have the rainy days for the sunny ones, and never stay comfortable.
Great. And what does femininity mean to you?
Femininity?
Yeah.
To me, it really just, the first thing I think about when I hear this word is just like a woman, a beautiful woman, but a beautiful woman not because of her physical attributes, but a beautiful woman because of the way that she radiates beauty from herself. The way that she treats others, the way that she goes about her life, and the way that she lifts up others as well. So I think of a very strong, powerful woman who just knows what she wants in life and is a nice, kind person and is not afraid to be who she is in any way possible. That's what I think about when I think of feminine attributes, because I don't think of, you know, like the girly stuff. I've never been a girly girl myself, but when I think of that, it's truly just like owning who you are and loving who you are and being totally unapologetic about it.
Great. And what do you think is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life. Oh, I think the meaning of life is to give it your all and just try your best, because there's not, you know, that's all there is to it. Like, there's so many things that are out of our control on a day-to-day basis, and life is constantly changing. You might think you have something totally figured out, and it's not at all. So I think the meaning of life is to just like constantly put your best foot forward and make the most out of it as you can, because you do only get one life. And I think it's important to make that the most like efficient and effective life as you possibly can.
Great. And where can people find you?
You can find me anywhere if you look up Seymour Fitness. I have a website, SeymourFitness.com, Instagram, Seymour Fitness, Facebook, Seymour Fitness, TikTok, Seymour Fitness, all of the stuff. So CMORR Fitness. That's where you can find me on literally any social media platform.
Great. Right. As usually, you'll find all the links in the description below, whether it's to Colette or my services, my book, everything. And yeah, thank you very much for doing this. I'm pretty sure people will find a lot of value in this. A bit shorter episode, but it's really good.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I could be on, and we finally got this, got together so we could do this. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we had to reschedule a few times.
Yeah, we did. Busy times, people getting sick, crazy stuff going on. That's okay. That's life, though. That's life.
Yeah, that's true. All right, and guys, if you enjoyed this episode, give it a like, share with your friends. It helps a lot. So thank you very much.